Lesson 4, Dividing Decimals. Donovan has sandbags that each weigh 1 pound. Divide the sandbags into groups of 5. So we're going to start by counting 5 bags. Now that I have counted to 5 bags, that is group 1. Now I'm going to do this again, count 5 bags, and that is group 2. Now I'm going to do this again and count 5 bags, and that is group 3. And because it said to divide the sandbags into groups of 5, I can't put these 3 into a group because there's only 3 of them. There is not 5 of them. So how many groups are there? Well, I can see that there are 3 groups. And how can we represent the sandbags that are not in a group? We would say that there are 3 bags left over, or we have a remainder of 3. So what could we do with them? All right, now our next example is 53.2 divided by 14. So I'm going to put 14 on the outside and 53.2 on the inside. And we need to make sure that we bring that decimal up so that we can make sure everything is aligned properly. So I'm going to start by thinking, how many times can 14 go into 5? Well, it can't, so I'm going to put a 0. Now, how many times can 14 go into 53? It can go in 3 times. 3 times 14 is 42. I'm going to go ahead and subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. 5 minus 4 is 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring down that 2. Now we have 112. So now I'm going to see how many times 14 can go in to 112, and that is 8 times. And 8 times 14 is 112. Go ahead and subtract, and we get 0. So we are done. So our answer is 3.8. Now we have 186.3 divided by 27. I'm going to put 27 on the outside, 186.3 on the inside. Remember to put our decimal, bring it up, and place it in our quotient. Now we can go ahead and divide. So 27 cannot go into 1, so we're going to put 0. 27 can also not go into 18, so we're going to put 0. But 27 can go into 186, and it can go in 6 times. And 6 times 27 is 162. Now I'm going to go ahead and subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4. 8 minus 6 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring down that 3, and we have 243. So now we need to see how many times 27 can go into 243, and it can go in 9 times. And 9 times 27 is 243. Go ahead and subtract, and we get 0. So we are done, and we have an answer of 6.9. So now we're going to practice more with these problems here. So we are going to start with 12.42 divided by 18. So I'm going to put 18 on the outside and put 12.42 on the inside. And we need to make sure that we bring that decimal up. So 18 cannot go into 1, so that is 0. 18 cannot go into 12, so that is 0. 18 can go into 124 6 times, and that gives us an answer of 108, and then I can subtract. So we start with 4 minus 8, which we can't do, so we're going to borrow from the 2. That becomes a 1. The 4 becomes a 14. 14 minus 8 is 6. 1 minus 0 is 1. And 1 minus 1 is 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring down that 2. So we have 162. And I'm going to see how many times 18 can go into 162. And that is 9. And 9 times 18 is 162. Go ahead and subtract, and we get 0. So our answer is 0.69. Next example, we have 1,400 divided by 32. So I'm going to go ahead and put 32 on the outside and 1,400 on the inside. 32 cannot go into 1, so we're going to put 0. 32 cannot go into 14, so we're going to put 0. 32 can go into 140, and that goes in 4 times. And 4 times 32 is 128. And now I can subtract. So we have 0 minus 8, which we can't do, so we're going to borrow from the 4. That becomes a 3. The 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 3 minus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. And then we can go ahead and bring down that 0. So now we have 120. And 32 can go into 120 3 times. And 3 times 32 is 96. So I can go ahead and subtract. We have 0 minus 6, which I can't do, so we're going to borrow from the 2. That becomes a 1. The 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. Then we have 1 minus 9, which we can't do. So we're going to borrow from the 1, and that becomes 0. And then our 1 is going to become 11, and 11 minus 9 is 2. Now, because we have a remainder and we are dividing with decimals, we are going to keep going. So I'm going to go up here to our problem, add a decimal, and then make sure I put that decimal in our quotient. And I'm just going to add on to our box and add a 0. Now I'm going to go down and carry that 0 down. So we have 240. 32 can go into 240 7 times, and 7 times 32 is 224. Now I'm going to go ahead and subtract. So first we have 0 minus 4, which we can't do. So I'm going to borrow from the 4. That becomes a 3, and our 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. So again, we still have that remainder. So I'm going to go up here, add another 0, bring that down, and now we have 160. And 32 can go into 160 5 times. And 5 times 32 is 160. Go ahead, subtract, and I get 0. So we are officially done. So our answer is 43.75. Next, we have 195.3 divided by 93. So I'm going to put 93 on the outside and 195.3 on the inside. I'm going to make sure to move my decimal up to our quotient. And now I can go ahead and start dividing. 93 cannot go into 1, so that is 0. 93 cannot go into 19, so that is 0. 93 can go into 195 twice, and 2 times 93 is 186. I'm going to go ahead and subtract. We have 5 minus 6, which I can't do, so I'm going to borrow from the 9. That becomes an 8. The 5 becomes 15. 15 minus 6 is 9. 8 minus 8 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. Then I'm going to go ahead and bring down that 3, and we have 93. And we know that 93 can go into 93 once, because 1 times 93 is 93. Subtract, we get 0. So our answer is 2.1. Next, we have 744 divided by 60. So I'm going to put 60 on the outside and put 744 on the inside. So I know that 60 can't go into 7, so I'm going to put 0. 60 can go into 74 once. 1 times 60 is 60. Go ahead and subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring down my 4, and we have 144. 60 can go into 144 twice. 2 times 60 is 120. Go ahead and subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. So because we have a remainder, I'm going to go back up here, put my decimal. Make sure I also put my decimal in my quotient. Add a 0. Bring that down. So now I have 240. And I know 60 can go into 240 4 times. And 4 times 6 is 240. So I can go ahead and subtract, and that is 0. So our answer is 12.4. All right, next we have 45.88 divided by 62. Put 62 on the outside. Put 45.88 on the inside. Make sure I carry my decimal up to my quotient, and now I can divide. 62 cannot go into 4. 62 cannot go into 45. 62 can go into 458. And it can go in 7 times. 7 times 62 is 434. Subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4. 5 minus 3 is 2. And 4 minus 4 is 0. Go ahead, bring down that 8. So now we have 248. 62 can go into 248 4 times, and 4 times 62 is 248. Go ahead and subtract, and we get 0. So our answer is 0.74. Our next problem, we have 75 divided by 345. 75 can't go into 3. It can't go into 34, but it can go into 345. And it can go in 4 times, and 4 times 75 is 300. So I can go ahead and subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5. 4 minus 0 is 4. 3 minus 3 is 0. Again, we have that remainder, so I'm going to go up here and add my decimal. Bring my decimal up to my quotient. I'm also going to extend the bar, put a 0, bring it down. Now we have 450. And 75 can go into 450 6 times. 6 times 75 is 450. Go ahead, subtract. We get 0. So our answer is 4.6. All right. 3,155 divided by 105. 105 cannot go into 3. 105 cannot go into 31, but it can go into 315, and it can go in 3 times. 3 times 105 is 315. 315 minus 315 is 0. Bring down that 0. 105 can go into 0 times. 0 times 105 is 0. Subtract. Yes, I know it's pointless. 0 minus 0 is 0. So our answer is 30. All right. 825 divided by 6. 6 can go into 8 once. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract, we get 2. Bring down the 2. 6 can go into 22 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract, we can't do 2 minus 8, so I'm going to borrow from the 2. That becomes a 1. This becomes a 12. 12 minus 8 is 4. 1 minus 1 is 0. Bring down the 5. 6 can go into 45 7 times. 7 times 6 is 42. Subtract, 5 minus 2 is 3. 4 minus 4 is 0. And we have a remainder of 3, so we're going to go up here to our problem, put in this decimal, bring that up to our quotient, extend our line, add a 0, bring that down. We have 30, and 6 can go into 30 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. Subtract, we get 0. So our answer is 137.5. 112 divided by 40. 40 can't go into 1, it can't go into 11, but it can go into 112, and it can go in twice. 2 times 40 is 80. Go ahead and subtract. 2 minus 0 is 2. 1 minus 8 we can't do, so I'm going to borrow from the 1. That becomes a 0. 1 becomes 11. 11 minus 8 is 3. We have a remainder of 32. So I'm going to go up here, add my decimal, bring that up to my quotient, extend my bar, add a 0, bring that down. So now we have 320. 40 can go into 328 times. 8 times 40 is 320. Subtract, we get 0. So our answer is 2.8. All right, we are almost done with these practice problems. We have 2 more. So we have 278.8 divided by 34. 34 can't go into 2. It can't go into 27, but it can't go into 278, and it can go in 8 times. And 8 times 34 is 272. Go ahead and subtract. 8 minus 2 is 6. 7 minus 7 is 0. 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down the 8. Make sure that we have moved our decimal point up. I'm going to extend my line just because I drew it a little bit short. 34 can go into 68 twice. 2 times 34 is 68. 68 minus 68 is 0. So our answer is 8.2. All right, last practice problem for this slide. So we have 15.4 divided by 28. Make sure that we bring this decimal up to our quotient. And now we divide. 28 can't go into 1. It can't go into 15, but it can go into 154. And it can go in 5 times. 5 times 28 is 140. I'm going to go ahead and subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So we have that remainder, so we need to keep going. We don't need to add a decimal because we already have one. We just need to go ahead and add a 0. Bring that down. Now we have 140, and 28 can go into 140 5 times. 5 times 28 is 140. Subtract, we get 0. So our answer is 0.55. Josephine solved 3 different equations on a math quiz. One of the answers is incorrect. Determine which solution is incorrect and explain your reasoning. So in order to figure out which one is incorrect, we are going to have to solve the problems. And we're going to start with question 1. So she had 50.4 divided by 18. 18 can't go into 5. It can go into 50. It can go in twice. 2 times 18 is 36. We're going to subtract. 0 minus 6 we can't do, so I'm going to borrow from the 5. It becomes 4. 0 becomes 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. Bring down the 4, and we get 144. 18 can go into 144 8 times. 8 times 18 is 144. Subtract, we get 0. So this one is correct. Question 1 is correct. Question 2. we have 0.876 divided by 6. So let's go ahead and set that up. Make sure our decimal is right where it's supposed to be. 6 can't go into 0, so that is 0. Now we're just going to ignore that 0. 6 can go into 8 one time. 1 times 6 is 6. Subtract 8 minus 6 is 2. Bring down the 7. 6 can go into 27 4 times. 4 times 6 is 24. Subtract 7 minus 4 is 3. 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down the 6. 36. 6 can go into 36 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Subtract, and we get 0. So in question 2, her answer was 1.46. Our answer is 0.146. So question 2 is the one she got wrong. So that means that question 3 is correct. So we don't need to solve that one because it told us that only one of the answers is incorrect. And her answer is incorrect because she put the decimal in the wrong place. All right, our last question. And yes, I know this lesson's long, but hang in there. We have one more question. 4 friends went out for dinner. The total bill was $65.48. If the friends decided to split the bill evenly, how much did they each pay? So this is a story problem. So first we're going to look for the question. What is it asking us? And it is asking us, how much did they each pay? So I'm going to go ahead and underline that. Now I need to know what numbers I am using. I know that there are 4 friends and the total bill was $65.48. So that is the numbers we're going to be using. And because it said split, I know we are dividing. Yes, I also know we are dividing because this whole entire lesson is on dividing. But when we see the word split, that means divide. So let's go ahead and set up our question. 4 on the outside, $65.48 on the inside. Make sure that we put our decimal in the correct place. And now we can go ahead and divide. 4 can go into 6 once. 1 times 4 is 4. Subtract 6 minus 4 is 2. Bring down the 5. 4 can go into 25 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. Subtract 5 minus 4 is 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. Bring down the 4. We have 14. 4 can go into 14 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. Bring down the 8. 4 can go into 28 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. Subtract, and we get 0. So each friend paid $16.37. Now go ahead and take a minute to summarize today's lesson. What did you learn?